Welcome back to Comics, the podcast where me and my mom talk about our comic book collection. And today we're starting off with a Marvel comic. It is Marvel Double Feature, number 18, and it's from October 1976. And
Wow.
it's the first appearance of Modok. That's Modok. He's got bangs and a big wrinkled baby's head. I had a Modok action figure that Grandma got me.
Did you really?
I know. It seems like maybe not the first choice of character. Like some characters have like huge muscles and guns and swords and stuff.
And
He's just a big head in a chair.
Why are all bad guys
Not much-
mechanized?
Yeah, well,
You know?
it says something about the times that this was written in. This is actually a reprint of 1967 issue of Captain America and a 1968 of Iron Man.
Really?
And yeah, so this came out in 76, and it was a way for them to recycle like the Golden Age stories. So this is like an old. I think actually it's not even Captain America's title. It was like Tales of Suspense or something like that.
Okay.
I think it was Tales of Suspense like 76 or something. I looked it up and then forgot it. But that was the first appearance of MODOK, but we're seeing the second version of it.
He doesn't even have any pupils.
You don't need them when you become like that. I mean, his mouth, I guess it's a little broad. It seems a little long.
He's a grumpy chumpy.
Wouldn't you be?
Yeah,
That's how he has to go to the bathroom. That's what that port is for. You thought it was a jetpack? Why do you think she looks like that?
Captain,
It's coming out both
he's
ends.
beating the crap into you. Ooh.
But anyway, I thought it'd be good to go over older Marvel comics. We have so many that are from like 85, 86.
Yeah, we've been stuck in the 80s
And those
for
are
a while.
fun. But yeah, so this is a chance also to see some classic duo Stan Lee, Jack Kirby work.
Yeah.
I like his rounded head there. It looks, his facial features look so soft in that pose.
Kind of, but his eyes look intense. Almost like he's,
He looks like a stuffed doll or something.
kind of. He's like,
Well,
I don't know, there's attitude there.
I think he's incapacitated, so maybe he's trying to convey like the life in his eyes, but his body's all stiff, that he's like trapped. But this is actually both of these stories, the Iron Man one and the Captain America, are both AIM stories, so I think that's why they put them in this double feature. AIM, I don't think I had an AIM like minion action figure. I'm not sure if they made one with the like beekeeper helmet thing.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I always kind of thought they were a lame villain when I was a kid, because it's just like a bunch of guys in identical suits. They look
They're
like
the original-
beekeepers
the
or
original
like
Minions.
yeah. Well, it reminds me a little bit of like early James Bond too, like Dr. No or something
Yeah.
like that 60s spy kind of thing. A lot of the dialogue is really goofy. I think it's part of that Marvel technique where they would like have the broad strokes of the story figured out, and then Jack Kirby would draw it, and then Stanley would come in and just like fill in like dialogue that he thought was appropriate that would convey the action. And so a lot of it's like it's a lot of it's expository of like, this is how we got here and here's what we're gonna do next. And don't you think we should do this? Well, this is why we're not doing that. Look at his eyes. That's him listening to the dialogue. He's like, this sucks.
Help me, say something intelligent.
I like this image here. I swallowed my seltzer wrong. But I like the pink. And,
That's dynamic, yeah.
You know, a lot of people, if they were in a submarine, would carry his lifeless body to MODOK. But they have technology where they can make him like materialize through the floor to the next level of the submarine. It seems a little impractical, is all I'm saying. Like, if you're building a submarine to fight superheroes, it seems like a weird addition. Like, well, what do we do when we get the superhero back to our lair? Well, are you going to drag his body down to see MODOK? No, well, let's build a molecular transmission portal in the floor.
Like, you're underwater, and like something like that doesn't make somebody in safety think, How is this going to work against
They're like,
how could this work against us?
shouldn't we have a toilet? Like, no, we spent all the money on that floor. You could try going on the floor. It might dematerialize or something. So anyway, the interesting thing about this story is that the henchmen are plotting against Modok. Modok was an experiment that they did on an average guy to like increase his intellect, and it went horribly wrong and gave him a giant baby head and like telekinetic blasts and
explains
stuff.
the hair.
Yeah, well, it either went horribly wrong or horribly right, depending on your point of view. And now Modok wants to become the leader of AIM, even though he was their creation. And so these guys are plotting. They're like, instead of killing Captain America, remember how Modok wanted to interrogate him or something? What if we bring him to Modok, and then as he's revived, he'll beat up Modok, and he won't be a problem for us anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So he does wake up, and he's surprised to be blasted by Modok.
Whoa.
I really like this drawing. I like all the lines of his hair. Yeah. He's got a little bit of a widow's peak.
A little bit of wave in there.
He's so different looking than the cover Modok, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's more of an emo Modok. He's got like a swoopy hair, and he's more like the Munsters Modok. His face is so much more compressed and wrinkly.
And wrinkly, yeah.
It's drooping. I have to say I haven't seen Modok in the MCU yet because he's in that more recent Ant-Man film, Ant-Man Quantumania.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
I think it's just getting on streaming now, so I'm going to have to watch that. But I heard it didn't do very well, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a big baby in this chair, and a lot of the technology drawings remind me of Galactus.
Yes.
Like these little rectangles and like zigzag patterns. It seems like that's like a hallmark of Jack Kirby's style. Is he likes to draw these technological features that are like geometrical, little symmetrical patterns and stuff. I really like that. His arms, he's got the purple arms, and Galactus is purple.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Oh, right there though. It's just.
Yeah, a lot of Modok's dialogue in this one is like saying the things that he's doing at the time. Like, let's see. I am aware that you seek to goad me into action, hoping to find a weak chink in my mental armor. But you will find instead that I do more than talk a great fight. My invincible mind beam is the greatest single weapon ever unleashed. So that's his mind beam.
Oh, mind beam.
And, you know, you might think that you can just dodge these mind beams, but there are many types of mind beams. I know they're all just yellow blasts, but, for example, this is an infallible stun shock beam. Okay. And I guess that just has, like, a psychedelic background, that one. He, like, hits a button, and he's like, watch this one. It's which can be instantly followed by a simple blast capable of shattering a steel floor. I don't know if that's his simple blast. He doesn't have a name for that one. That's the stun shock beam. This is just
simple blast.
It's a simple blast. It's not. I didn't give that one a name. It does shatter the entire floor. You know, it's kind of a weird.
Simply shadows the floor.
Yeah, just, the floor. I figured it wasn't worth naming because most of the beams will shatter the floor. And it hurls pieces of the floor at any target I so desire. So, like, he can break things and then make the shrapnel go towards them.
Shrapnel.
That's pretty cool. These are great action sequences, though. Like,
he looks mad, though. They did a great job with his eyes.
He looks like he's wet, like he's dripping.
Ooh, yeah, he does.
I think they're motion lines, but it's a weird look because there's like flame and then there's these white sticky things.
They're in a sub and there's flames.
Yeah, that doesn't...
Wouldn't you see a lot of people in the background running and screaming?
Yeah, you would think.
Where are the minions?
Well, that's his heat beam. So he's got the stun shock beam, the simple unnamed beam, and then he's got a heat beam, which, of course, can make the floor red hot, just like when you played The Floor is Lava when you were a kid. That's
a good thing that it's not a metal submarine.
It's plastic. They're all choking on the fumes.
Jeez.
I love the colors in these panels. The purple and the greens really complement each other.
I like the addition of the orange and green.
So all these hench AIM people are getting in a escape sub because they know that,
Modok's
it's on
crazy.
fire and Modok's going wild. So their plan is like to escape. I know, that's the best panel. I don't want to skip ahead too much, but that's the best panel in the whole comic.
God.
The colors are awesome. It makes you kind of feel bad for Modok.
No.
Like, he looks like he has a big child's head, like a young kid with
he
shaggy
does
hair, like a bowl cut.
Seem to act like a petulant child.
He's a big baby.
Yeah.
That's his self-explosion beam, I guess. Well, what happens is, this is a great panel too. One of the henchmen sneaks up and he's got a chance to kill Captain America, but he's kind of waiting till Captain America does the finishing blow on MODOK, so then they can kill two birds with one stone, I guess. But this SHIELD agent, I think it's Sharon Carter, tackles him out of the way. So she saves Captain America. MODOK's the one that gets blasted. It's like, wait, these guys wanted to rebel against MODOK using Captain America, their foe, to kill another one of their foes. They could have just blasted him the whole time, right? If one of the AIM henchmen, their little laser guns,
you would think,
killed. So instead of going through all the trouble of like letting Captain America go or not killing him immediately, why didn't you just shoot Captain America with these lasers and then shoot MODOK with the same lasers?
Right.
Problems solved.
When
they
he's
just made it.
zipping around in his chair all happy.
Yeah, well, he's not happy now. Look at him. His chair is demolished.
Wow.
I'm really glad they have that shrapnel right there. I don't want to see what's going on down there. Special magic set offer from Charms. Blow pops. I guess you can get a magic set from the lollipops or whatever.
Oh, wow.
I think those are the type with the gum in them.
Oh.
Anyway, so they subdue. This is like almost like reminds me of a cartoon where they'd have like musical stabs, like bang, bang.
Yep.
It's got I like that karate chop. Your karate chop goes fazat. What kind of technique is that? I like the bonk and spang. Fazat is the weirdest one. I feel like your
It's a little jazzy, though, in a way.
Yeah, I could see Zat or Fat.
Oh, true.
But Fazat. It's almost like two hits to me. I don't know. Maybe she did two really quick chops.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're not going to let those AIM guys get out. And she saves Captain America again. I don't know why that guy's going to pistol whip Captain America instead of just...
It's a shooting him?
Yeah, use the trigger, man. Hold it like a regular gun and just shoot him.
But again, aren't they in a submarine?
Yeah.
They're shooting.
I guess they shouldn't be shooting inside the thing that's keeping them alive. They almost escape, but he shoves his shield right in the crevice of the door so it can't close. Zach.
Good move.
MODOK's
ew.
little shriveled body. At least he's got a purple onesie on or whatever. But yeah, he can't.
His footy pajamas.
He can't really lift his head. It looks like he's not dead. He's just like, oh man, my head is way too heavy.
You'd think he'd have a beam for that.
He shoots up some last beam. Let's see. Therefore, I must perish in a manner befitting the Master Supreme. Men must talk of my last few seconds for as long as legends endure, and so they shall. I've reached the emergency detonator. Now, if I can just increase the pressure. So he tries to blow up the sub. He's like, if I'm going to die, I'm just going to kill all my henchmen with me and hopefully Captain America. But they escape on the little sub, and they've got all these henchmen driving at gunpoint. Well, she's got one gun. Captain America's just pointing. Go that way. Towards land. So that's not the last we've seen of MODOK.
No.
Thankfully. And I don't think anybody's talking about the legend of MODOK like he hoped. Remember MODOK?
Remember that little baby man?
And this is a reprint of Iron Man #1, a story.
Really? Wow.
I believe so, according to the little wiki I read. So he has just been captured by AIM. Yeah, we just read about AIM. This is a different story about AIM, and they sucked him up in like a Mario tube.
Out of the frying pan into the fire department.
That's one thing I wanted to... We'll see if we get the little Stan Lee
those AIM
comment
costumes are
in this one or not.
a little silly.
Yeah, I like how big the panels are in this one. I don't know. they don't look that. I guess the layout's similar, but there's some pretty quick action in some of this Captain America or Tales of Suspense. I'm a fan of fewer and bigger panels a lot of the time. So they've trapped Iron Man, who just had fought the Magia. The Magia are like a crime syndicate that Iron Man defeated, and so that he's kind of like tired and recovering from that. And then, just as he finishes that adventure, AIM has sucked him up with their little tube there. It's the walls are made of heavyweight pressurized steel, so it would use all of his reserves of power to break
out,
through them,
right.
he says. So he's kind of just
Good thing you
along for the
mentioned
ride.
it.
Oh, I saw this ad. This sounds interesting. Very, very special people. It's $1.95. Nationally, it's sold at $6.95. So you can order it here. Limited time offer for $2. The struggles, loves, and triumphs of human oddities.
Isn't that strange?
It's definitely of a different era, isn't it? Here are all the true stories and photographs of the famous personalities that made the circus sideshows great. In one amazing book, very special people. You'll meet Jojo the dog-faced boy, Randy and the caterpillar man, the original Siamese twins, the elephant man, the mule-faced woman, General Tom Thumb, the elastic skin man, giants, living skeletons, fat ladies, and bearded ladies, armless and legless wonders, midgets, and many, many. I don't think you'd see a publication using a phrase like armless and legless wonders these days. It's a little insensitive, isn't it?
It's crazy that's...
They're putting a positive spin on it. Once you get past the shock of the photographs, you won't be able to put this book down. For those of you who enjoy reading great heart-stirring stories of mind over body, this book is a must. Fascinating, unusual, and very freaky. Money back guarantee.
I don't ever remember a sideshow or a show like this.
I know.
And I'm from out in the country, you know.
They're referenced in pop culture so much.
Yeah.
That I always thought as a kid, well, yeah, let's go down to the sideshow. They must have, every town has one, right?
I know, it's crazy. Like the animal oddities, the two-headed cows and, two-headed snakes and all that stuff. It's like, I never saw anything like that in my life.
Do you want to, though?
No. I don't like spiders. What am I going to do?
You want a two-headed spider, even better. So they subdue him with some gas here. That's the gas button. I like that detail that they have. They can't just... I don't think there's text on that button. So they got to print, like... Fred couldn't remember which button was the gas, so we wrote it on in Sharpie. Gas! Quit gassing us by accident, Fred. We got
Red button, Fred.
So anyway, the whole plan here is to capture Iron Man and figure out the secret to his technology of his suit, so they can make an army of Iron Man, basically. It's kind of
that makes sense.
Like a reoccurring theme with villains in Iron Man of they want to misuse his technology or steal it or use it for evil, I guess. Meanwhile, the ship that he fought the Magia on is sinking here, and there's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Jasper Sitwell, famous Marvel character Jasper Sitwell. Jasper Sitwell is rescuing a drowning person and calling for backup from S.H.I.E.L.D.
And he's thinking at the same time as he's calling for help, thanks to the superior design by Tony Stark, the saltwater has had no effect on my communicator.
That makes me think of the Understanding Comics. It's sometimes one panel you can suggest okay, in a few moments he's saying this, doing this, and that reminds me of a Flash comic that we're going to go over in the next episode. But sometimes you're just cramming too much action into one panel. Just have him talk in one panel and then swim in the other. Is he flipping his legs super hard trying to stay afloat because he's got a person in one hand and he's got a walkie-talkie going?
Dog battle, dog battle. You'd think he'd be thinking that. Just keep battling.
So they're taking Iron Man to go see Morbius, and that's Morbius with a D. This isn't Morbius, the Spider-Man vampiric Jared Leto character. Yeah. This is Morbius with a D. I'm sure at the villain convention there's a lot of confusion and anger about that.
Let me talk to your manager, Modius.
I also like that AIM as an organization puts their A logo on the floor. Like every few steps, you have an A. Seems impractical. They spent less on these little
big A.
details, less time on that and more on their plans. They'd probably be much more successful. Oh, and this is that Stan Lee note that I was looking for. And any of you who have been wondering just why AIM picked a goofy name like Advanced Idea Mechanics may get a slight inkling with this peek at Mortius's lab. So is Stan Lee winking at us and saying like, Gene Colan, the artist of this, put a big A here, and so then Stan Lee, when he was filling in the dialogue, had to be like come up with the acronym of what AIM actually stands for, and so he just came up. Because in this other note, he's explaining AIM as Advanced Idea Mechanics, and then he adds another note that says, "At least we think that's what the letters of AIM stand for. Correct us if we're wrong, will you, Pilgrim? Insecure Stan." Those are some of my favorite Stan Lee things, is when he breaks the fourth wall and editorializes a little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny that characters like Deadpool get so much credit for being like, it's a comic character that knows he's in a comic. But even back in the heyday, like the early days of the
Stan
Golden
was
Age,
there.
they were already acknowledging the reality or the unreality of comics. They were already kind of pointing in that direction. So anyway, they put him in this like MRI looking machine.
Jeez.
And it's weird that his armor like conforms to his pectorals like that at certain angles. I also, one of my favorite things about this Iron Man artist is some artists do this, some don't. His eye holes in his mouth like are expressive in certain things. It's like, wait, is he mad? Do his eyes go at like a slant when he gets mad? He like designed that into the suit. I thought it was made of iron. So this is Mortius, and he's like trying to convince AIM that he should be the leader. It's kind of similar to the Modok story, where Modok was like their test subject who was like, now I'm the boss, and they didn't like it. This guy was a henchman, but now that he's like, well, I'm blue now. Like, what the hell? I never thought of that.
B comes before Y.
So he's trying to convince them that he deserves to be the leader, and his big reveal is like, well, if you put Iron Man into this like submarine tube thing,
oh no,
I'll take off my mask. He even says
that's
this.
him.
Yeah, he's a weird looking guy.
They always do the heavy eyebrow situation.
Look at that. He's got like a dent in his skull. He even thinks to himself, and since I will shortly be their leader, it is fitting I cast off the anonymity traditional to subordinates. It's like you already had a different colored suit. Now you got to show everybody your dented, lumpy face.
Put it back on.
I like how his thick eyebrows you can see in profile there. That's cool. So anyway, he's got this machine that just makes Iron Man suits. There's not a lot to it. You would be like, well, is it like 3D printing them or something?
I know,
or,
like how do you 3D print?
It was 1968, so they're like, well, you put them in a tube, and these gauges do something, and steam comes off, and see? Hot off the press.
Fred, press that gas button.
It smells like a fresh baked loaf of bread, actually. And so they start putting them on. I like that guy with his glove. He's like, he looks a little fancy. He's like, ooh, I like the way it fits perfectly. And also, yeah, that's the other thing is, so he can reproduce. He built a machine that can reproduce Iron Man armor, but he can't figure out how to just make armor. Like, he's smart enough to make something that can duplicate it. More sophisticated technology.
But he can't.
Yeah, I don't get that. And it's like that machine has all the raw materials necessary to make an Iron Man suit when you yourself were just talking about how you did, Tony Stark's a genius and you don't understand how he made it. It doesn't add up, really.
Right.
And they're all the appropriate size. You had to get all the same size henchmen. They're like, okay, this guy's too tall. And you can see like his skin poking out.
It's like the Blue Man Group. They have tryouts.
I think so. So that's our cliffhanger, and you get to see Iron Man's mad eyes. Look,
wow.
It's like they become eyebrows. He's like, I was just faking being knocked out by that gas. I actually have an oxygen tank. So this whole time he was pretending to be knocked out, and he's like, I'm going to let him make 3 copies of my suit, and then I'm going to burst out of it.
Ah.
I guess. He's like, this whole time I just wanted to know, I wanted you to reveal your master plan. Now that I know it, bam! He breaks the machine, and look how pissed off his armor looks.
Yeah. I wonder if he could turn off parts of his machine or of his suit so that it couldn't duplicate it. Exactly.
I wonder if that's what's going to be in the next issue. He's like, he
Yeah.
thinks he copied 3 versions of my suit, but they're all flawed in some way.
Yeah, yeah, because he's a genius. He can think of that.
He made it so they don't ventilate farts. So all the guys in there have to breathe their own farts the whole time. It makes them weaker. But anyway, that's the end of our dual aim adventure. I like that one. It was those 2 stories went together really well, and I like those old school stories like that. It's nice to go back a couple decades. What did you do this week?
So, for our DC book, I
Star
went a
Trek.
little bit into the future, and this was the comic we got when we went to our local comic shop,
Oh yeah, we got it from Comic Book World.
and I thought it'd be interesting to check it out. It's the first one I think I've ever read in my life of the Star Trek.
It looks
genre.
like for Spock and who's that, McCoy?
Yeah.
They're just like, just take McCoy's face, give him pointed ears, and flip his eyebrows upside down.
Kind
Because
of,
they both have the same mouth little curves.
Yeah, Kirk looks pretty good on the cover.
Yeah.
Good, quick question. If you had to choose, which futuristic world would you rather be a part of? The Star Wars universe or the Star Trek universe?
Probably Star Trek. How about you?
Yeah, definitely Star Trek.
Star Wars is too tumultuous. They're always at war.
Yeah.
Are you going to choose a world of war?
Yeah.
Or utopian exploration where sometimes you get killed by like a slime monster randomly?
Well, and you just don't wear red.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say I really like the aesthetic of their technology. The little guns, like the phasers are really powerful in the show, but they're not like these big, like masculine giant cannons like you'd see like Cable
Arnold,
have
yeah.
or Arnold, like big giant army machine gun, minigun type things that you see in like action movies or in like 90s comics. It's cool to have something so like compact and it looks like kind of like a goofy little toy.
Right, and this is the first series. So they're even like with Picard and everything, they were even more simplified and smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to admit I haven't watched the new the one with Scott Bakula, and I haven't watched
either. I'm
the
gonna get
newer
around
ones.
to it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the Picard solo series, and I haven't seen Deep Space Nine. I've watched all of Next Generation. I've watched most of the original series, but not in order. And I think there's only like 2 or 3 seasons, right? It's a pretty short run.
It's a short.
And I watched all of Voyager. I've seen all of Voyager and Next Generation. I haven't seen. I think I watched the first one of Deep Space Nine, and then I liked it, but I was like, I feel like watching something else.
Yeah, I think that what I found with each one, because I've seen all of Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, but when you go from one to the next, there's always that like 3 or 4 episode, like I don't know, like getting your mind situated.
Well, those shows, the crew, the balance of the personalities and character archetypes on the crew you get used to a certain dynamic, and you're like, you have to kind of readjust to be like, okay, this is a little different than what I'm expecting, but that's what makes it interesting, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I would read the Star Trek.
Cool. Looks like it's from the 90s. We'll see on the copyright page. Let's see. 95.
Yeah, we're back in the 90s.
Around 8.
And it's called The Chosen, Part 1, The Hunted. And so it starts with...
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is something that's so weird about comics from my childhood is the photo ads that are like... It really dates it from a certain era, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
I always liked the whimsy of the ads and the old ones where it's like, send away for this killer grasshopper or whatever. Like, fool all your friends into thinking you're cool. And these ones are more just like billboard. Like,
yeah, just boring.
Like, you think the people that are reading the Star Trek comic want to see this rom-com or whatever the hell this is, this drama?
With Billy Baldwin?
He's a cop on the edge. She's a woman with a dangerous secret. They've been targeted by the Russian mob, and now they're both fair game. Opening November 3rd.
Her secret is she shills for Pepsi, but she likes Coke.
Their secret is that they sent away for a killer grasshopper kid.
Okay, so we start with the captain's log, and they're talking about how the ship had been damaged, and so they had to go to a space station and get it repaired. And Scotty, this is Scotty, he's been overseeing the repairs, and as they're repairing, a couple upgrades. I like how they always do that. Whenever a ship comes in, there's like, oh, and he snuck in a few upgrades. And then they don't tell you until they need it. And it's like, good thing we got that upgrade.
Yeah, imagine bringing your car to the shop and they're like, yeah, we added a flamethrower too. I know you just needed the brakes done, but, you know, we like to do that kind of thing.
This helps with traffic. Your rush hour traffic. So they're coming out of dock and everything, and they've got their warp engines back. So, and then we go to the meeting of the crew, and I like how they portray Bones here right away. He's like, I don't understand all of the excitement. But they're talking
He looks
about,
so serious.
I know.
The eyebrow cocked is really selling it. I have to say the color is a little weird. It's a
Isn't
little
it?
washed out sometimes.
and it's really flat.
yeah.
All the drawing. Look at how.
They didn't spend too much time on the backgrounds, did they?
Well, Jim, look at him. His posture is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But they're discussing what their next operation is going to be. Spock wants to go to this system where all of these stars. Well, he says each of the 7 stars is identical in every measure of stellar behavior, perfectly synchronized. The odds against such a phenomenon occurring naturally are virtually impossible. So he wants to go investigate why are all these stars in the same level of evolution of their, and and Scotty, did someone build the stars or manipulate existing ones? And
Build
why
the
would
stars?
anyone
Wow.
do either? I know. So they're kind of
He's so
like,
concerned.
I know. The expressions on everything. They've got Bones just worked up, and then Scotty's worried. And, well, wait a minute. Is that Scotty? I don't think, no, Scotty wears yellow.
I like that little yellow on his
I know,
cuff
look at
there.
on
Oh, I see. Yeah, they've all got it, don't they?
yeah. So anyway, they're working on what their next mission is going to be. And then the captain's on the bridge, and Uhura gets a distress call. And so they investigate, and it's coming from a Klingon world. And there are no Klingon vessels anywhere in the area or on that world, so they decide that they have to go and investigate. Well, it's Captain Kirk. He's not going to say no to anybody.
Yeah.
So they have to go and investigate, and he's like, regulations are very specific about our duty after receipt of a distress call. And Bones, of course, is like against it, and of course, did you consider this might be a trap? And so they decide that they're going to investigate. They go closer to the world. But it's so weird how they drew, like on the cover, I thought everybody looked pretty much like how they look, but inside.
I noticed there's a lot of distance. Like, we're pretty far away from everyone, so we get away with like these really simplified facial expressions a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Did they do this the day before it was due? I'm not trying to be
No,
mean to this
it's-
artist. I also like that his hair goes from the natural, like the normal Kirk, to like, oh, he's getting a little worked up. He's got a
Yeah.
little point. Then he's got 2 points. Uh-oh. Now it's flipping up a little bit. Like... And now it's drooping
Yeah.
down, one little pointy curl.
Yeah.
He's flipping his hair around. He's so upset.
So he asked Scotty if he can give him warp 8 for 3 hours. Oh, aye, sir. The condition she's in now, she could do longer than that. 3 hours is enough, Scotty.
I didn't ask for a story. Just hit the button.
So they get their party together. And the first thing I did was look at who's going. And it's like, oh, no.
Well, we got a couple of casualties.
Right, yeah.
I do like the way that they draw the warp animation.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, and I like how the terminology, you know, he's energized. It's like, that makes you, you know, I just love the whole thing.
One
The
thing
whole
I've
Star Trek
noticed,
thing.
especially when I was a kid with licensed comics like this, like we had a couple Simpsons comics, I think, different things like that, where it's a little jarring reading them because the characters seem a little foreign. You're familiar to hearing a certain voice or delivery or mannerisms with characters. So I found that I guess looking through some of the Buffy comics, we've got some of those
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But anything that's licensed like that, of like you're familiar with a particular performance of that character, and the writing might be pretty spot on for how that character talks, but not having the right person do it, it's a little stiff or something, or
yeah.
a little like it's the weird Walmart version of what you're used to.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of normal.
I kind of agree with that with this, and not in the writing, because when I was reading it, I heard it in the voices that I'm familiar with and remember, but the drawing of it is enough. There's enough weirdness there that it kind of pulls you out of the disbelief, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just
Spock's
enough.
looking kind of sneaky and evil.
I
in
know,
that,
I know. So they beam down and they're looking, and they can't find any signs of life. And they were, you know, they had gotten the distress signal only 3 hours before this. So, and everything is in rubble. And they go around and they explore. And again, it's Bones who is like, maybe a Klingon faction staged this themselves. So he's like the voice of reason, and
He's skeptical.
and yeah, he's
Could
which
be a
you
trap.
think that Spock would be, but Spock is just all about the evidence. You know, there's no speculation on any point, and Kirk is just all about getting in there. So I think that they keep the characters true in the writing, but yeah, it's the drawing that's just a little weird. So they find the area where the computers would be, and Spock reminds us that, well, they're Klingons and they would keep them in the basement. So they go down and they're looking through the data banks to see if they can find out what happened.
This really brings me back. Remember when advertisements always put HTTP : //,
Yes.
and then they simplify, well, it's just www. And then people are like, just do that. We all know this part now.
Yes. Remember though,
weird.
that was hard to remember. Like HTTP.
Well, did you even have to write that in? Or I remember it was pretty early on in my internet usage where you only had to put in just the name.com and it would fill in hypertext
Yeah.
transport protocol, World Wide Web, or whatever. Isn't that what it is? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird that they
I
would
don't know
feel
what
it.
this is even.
And I guess my problem is just like typographically, it's just so ugly
Awkward.
looking. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a jumble of symbols that makes it even longer and weirder looking.
And dated.
Yeah.
And then you've got Halloween. Mike Myers.
Another movie.
Curse.
Maybe they figure that people that are going to read a licensed TV, movie, comic are fair game for like, well, you like comics and movies, don't you? Star Trek was a movie. What about Halloween?
Halloween's a movie.
Mike Myers, I think. Hey, actually, little trivia: isn't the original Mike Myers mask a William Shatner Star Trek mask
I think so.
that they
isn't
altered or
it?
something? Yeah. So they're like, hey, you like William Shatner's face? What if we ripped it off and put it on a murderer? See this movie, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Damn it, Jim. What's that secret? So Kirk is checking in with the ship, and they're trying to find any evidence in the databanks about what might have happened. And Spock discovers that all of the data is gone. There's nothing. And he said, which to him indicates that it was somebody unfamiliar with their system. Because if you were familiar with the system, you would only get rid of the particular data that you didn't want them to find, not everything.
That makes sense.
So that's a clue. And then Bones here. Since there are no survivors and we are in Klingon space, I suggest that we get out of here before the Klingons show up.
A lot of these close drawings of Spock, it's like he's got like a little selfie like light on him. He's got like a little
like
beam
Keanu
of light.
Reeves there.
He does. That's
It's
weird.
odd. Yeah.
I guess he's got a little bit of a beam of light on his face too, but the coloring is just a little off to me. I don't mean to be
different.
hypercritical, but looks a little washed out.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Spock is like, I concur. So they're going to leave. And what happens?
I hate it when I'm right.
Look at his face, too.
Oh, yeah, there's the Klingon vessel. He thought it might be a trap.
Scotty's on the bridge in charge, and the Klingons show up, and they won't even, they've been trying to hail them, and they won't answer back. And then all of a sudden, there they are, and it's like, Kang! And I'm thinking, now, I don't remember.
Kang? He's Kang.
Kang's
Khan's cousin. He doesn't look very Klingon, does he? I was expecting a more pronounced forehead like ridge thing.
Yeah, it's not drawn.
Maybe he's a hybrid
Romulan,
yeah,
Klingon.
Who knows? He's got the eyebrows.
But anyway, so he's like, Enterprise, where's your captain? Where's Kirk? And they say he's on the surface and stuff, but they're like, what did you do? And they're blaming, I forgot to tell you, when they got down there.
I'm confused. This is the guy from the Enterprise talking, isn't it?
No, that's a Klingon.
Oh, okay.
Talking to, but when they got down to the surface of the planet and the readings came back that the weaponry that was used to destroy the planet was Federation.
Oh.
It was like the readings that was given off were Federation. So
Star Trek loves to do that. It's not just a clear cut. There's some ambiguity of like, did some rogue Federation group do this? And there's an ethical.
And so you have that, and then you have Bones going, could this have been a Klingon trap trying to, They're
trying to frame the Federation.
So then you've got this going back and forth between Scotty saying, we didn't do it, we answered a distress call, and them saying, be brave enough to confess that you did it and die a hero.
When I first glanced, I didn't see the frame of the screen. They are still talking on the teleprompter thing or the video call thing.
Yeah, so they won't believe that.
So they start shooting. I never got one for the onomatopoeia when they do like 4 hard consonant sounds. Like, what is it? Cras.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
So they get Sulu to go into the asteroid field, of course, because they could. And so they go in, and they've got warp, and they get in there, and then we cut back to the planet, and they've sent some Klingon men down to go after the captain, and
I like how his communicator's like Razat, and then we get a giant Razat. Crack, boom! That's a good one.
This drawing's a little weak. That looks like Archie and Jughead running.
It's not? Thought they were on the Riverdale planet. What, they do to Archie? They blew up the high school.
So this is pretty funny. They run back in to try to take cover and stuff. And Spock, Bones, are you all right? Quite all right, Captain. And Bones, I'm fine considering that what's left of this building just fell on me.
So sassy. I like how we're so far away that Spock's eyes become just like a little, just a little pinpoint.
Yeah. And Kirk, he still looks sassy. He's still,
His hair's getting all disheveled again.
True.
That little curl.
Yeah. And he's wondering about the crew, and he's saying, I'm reading 4 Klingon life forms very close by, and I have a lock on the security team's communicators, but no human life signs. I can only make one conclusion. They're dead, Captain. 3 of my crew.
Yikes.
So they're trapped, and they
That was a good Shatner.
gave it my all. So they're hiding out from the Klingons who are coming in behind them.
Uh-oh.
And you've got, I think that's Spock
I like
shooting.
that panel. That's cool, like,
Yeah.
sneaky pose. Phasers
I
on
like
heavy
this
stun.
panel. That's
Heavy stun.
good action right there.
Yeah, that's great. Getting them more Rosats.
Yeah.
And a Ree.
And so they shoot him and stuff. And of course, Bones is like, they'll be out for a while, but they'll be all right. And so they pull him out of Danger's way. And he goes to run up. And he goes, we can hope that Mr. Scott can pull off a miracle.
Do you think that when they ever stun someone, they go up and like kick them one more time? Just, you little asshole.
Klingons, I'm sure do. Yeah,
Probably.
more than that. So up in the heavens, we have the battle still going on, and he's their shields are holding, but the Klingons are tracking us and closing. They're less maneuverable, but they are compensating by using weapons to clear the way. So of course the Klingons are just blasting the asteroids. That's so Klingon.
So he says they could probably take the other ship if they were in open space. It's all those
Right.
asteroids that are making things hard. Oh, we get Sulu.
Yeah, so
Do something.
Scotty's like, Sulu, can you think of anything? Aye, sir. And so he says he's got this plan, and then the Klingons are catching up to him, and they're building this tension through these 3 panels. So you've got
I love this
Enterprise.
layout. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's a clever way to do it.
and gets to him, fire,
Just
and
great symmetry, and then symmetry this way.
yes,
That's nice.
and Sulu, whatever you're gonna do it now, just as he's saying fire. And it doesn't really explain what they do, but what happens is that
Yeah, what the heck?
yeah, I don't.
I just read all that and it didn't explain.
What happens?
I guess they just...
Because, well, they've laid out that
They
the
just ran
Klingons
away.
are blasting everything in their path. So what they must have done is maybe shot behind one and then
The asteroid took the brunt of it because they say minor damage to the shields, and then
Right.
track them and they get away.
But
So,
then-
yeah, I guess they just hid behind an asteroid.
and then
It's
they're
not
like,
that great of a
we're
plan,
free.
Sulu. I've kind of
I'm
thought of
reading
that.
damage to the Klingon vessel. So what I'm thinking is that they waited till they were so close that when they blasted that asteroid, the debris damaged
just
the
like
Klingon.
Modok can control the debris of his mind blasts. They
And
must have read
so-
that Modok comment. It's just like how Star Trek always likes to,
But-
even though so much time has passed between our own and the future of Star Trek, they all are obsessed with like the 20th century, and they're like, I remember trombones. Wah, wah, wah. You know, so we're like, you know, it's
That's
always
true.
like, why don't you ever talk about the 22nd century or the, you know, like the 23rd or what? I don't know what time this takes place, but it's always like all the characters are really sentimental.
Yeah.
So they probably read Marvel comics.
Oh yeah, you know, on the next page, Sulu's gonna be like patting his little Modok.
He's got a little bobblehead. He's got the Funko Pop.
So he's like, let's go get the captain. Maximum speed to the planet. And so they energizing, bring him back up.
Blue. It was different before. I guess
And-
if you're energizing back to the Energizer, it's probably a different color.
And so Kirk tells them, you go back and you bring up my dead crew. We don't leave anyone behind. And so they in meeting in 30 minutes. So we're back in the meeting room. And our experience on Tarnak 2 has sparked a major interstellar incident. According to Starfleet, the Klingons are massing their forces near the neutral zone. Trouble's coming. The Federation is loudly proclaiming its innocence in the Tarnak 2 incident. And Bones is like, has anyone considered the Organians? They were advanced enough to stop the Federation Klingon war cold. They presumably they would do it again. Look at that funky Spock.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's very weird. So they're talking about, how they're gonna
His eyes got swollen
Avoid.
shut. He got stung by a bee.
Oh. Yeah, it's odd. I like this drawing of Scotty though. That's a nice one.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And so they're going back to base, but then they get a message to go to a different base. And
Wee!
I was trying to think of what that sounded like in the show, and I couldn't. Is it Wii U? Or
I don't know. I
can't
thought it sounded
remember.
like Carl.
So anyway, they're called to a different base. And instead of, I think it's base 47, they're called to base 7. And so they lay in to
be
travel
continued.
to be continued. ...
I don't know if I'm going to continue it, but we get really 2 ads for the same movie. That
You
doesn't.
want to see it?
Do they pay extra for that, or they get a deal on it, or
I'm
what?
sure. And Aliens.
At least this one's a video game. Aliens is still pretty scary.
Kind of got Modok teeth.
Yeah, he's got a lot of molars.
They're all molars.
They're not that sharp looking.
That's
They
why
are
he's
in
so-
that. In profile, they're all dagger-like, but here he's just like, I filed them all down for safety. Kept biting my tongue off.
So yeah, that was my very first Star Trek comic. I don't know if I'm a fan of the comics. I mean, definitely the show. But
I wonder how much they used, like, we found this old script that we didn't make into an episode, so let's, I guess Kevin J. Ryan wrote this one, but Rachel Ketchum.
I didn't think the writing
Didn't
was
use
weak.
pencils?
The drawings were a little weak, just because they, from panel to panel, they varied so much.
Well, maybe they, I bet Rachel
But
Ketchum has
I
some
don't
really
do
good
it.
work in a different issue. This
Right,
one was a little
right.
hit or miss.
Yeah, and I can't do it, so. But anyway, I think the cover is great.
Well, it was a good episode to get a large time span, which we usually don't have on this channel. We had 1967, and then
76?
which
Oh,
was a
yeah.
reprint of 67.
That's right.
And then we had 95. So pretty
right.
big span and 2 very, very different styles of comics.
Yeah.
So if you made it this far in the video, shoot us a like. And we always love to see comments. And make sure you subscribe. And thanks for watching.